This is Guyana, a tiny coastal nation located in South America, which up until recently was considered one of the poorest countries in the continent. As a matter of fact, in 2015, Guyana's GDP per capita was under $6,000, almost half of the world's average at the time. The former British colony had always struggled with poverty. However, things have dramatically changed. Since 2015, massive oil deposits have been found off the country's coast, causing unprecedented economic growth. In fact, the deposits were so big that from 2018 to 2021, Guyana's GDP grew approximately a staggering 55%, with a forecasted growth of over 57% just in 2021 to 2022 alone, making it one of the fastest growing economies in the world. In this video, we'll discuss exactly how Guyana's economy is growing so fast, and to what extent it can grow. We'll also analyze certain risks the country might face with its sudden economic boom, and how the country can sustain its oil wealth in the long term. With that out of the way, let's talk about the oil discovery. In 2015, ExxonMobil, an oil and gas multinational, which many of you might know, alongside its partners, made a series of oil discoveries in the Stabroek Block, a massive area off Guyana's coast over 26,000 square kilometers in area, making it over 1,000 times the size of the blocks in the Gulf of Mexico. Moreover, due to the enormous discovery, it was estimated that the value of the oil and natural gas could be worth 12 times more than Guyana's total economic output. Even so, many more discoveries have been made since then. In fact, over 30 have been made, with more operations being planned to start in the coming years. Because of this, some estimates say that Guyana could be the biggest oil producer per capita in the world by 2035, producing a whopping 1.4 million barrels of oil per day across its population of around 800,000. We do, however, have to remember that not all of the profits will be going to Guyana. In fact, the profit-sharing contract is currently negotiated to be 50-50 between the Guyanese government and ExxonMobil and its partners, with a 10% royalty rate and a 10% corporation tax. So although these aspects do change some things, it's still clear that Guyana is on the path to extraordinary economic growth. But how exactly did Guyana's oil odyssey begin? And how do these multinationals strike oil? Before their success, many had tried to extract the precious commodity from Guyana. Since the 1700s, the presence of several oil seeps were detected in the country by Dutch explorers. Fast forward to the 1950s. Various corporations had tried to extract oil but were unsuccessful in producing significant results. This trend continued until the recent discovery. It is a widely debated mystery on why it took so long for a large, successful discovery of oil streams, considering the Dutch had already found several oil seeps many centuries prior. Nevertheless, although not much can be found online in regards to ExxonMobil's presence in Guyana prior to their discovery in 2015, we do know that the American multinational began its exploration endeavors in 2008. 7 years later, drilling operations were underway. Now, even though the oil discovery has been the key driver in Guyana's economic growth, it is important that we also analyze the country's main industries aside from oil. This way, we can grasp a deeper understanding of its economy. The country's main industries include the production of sugar, various metals such as gold, rice, shrimp, and timber, many of which, as we can see, belong in the primary sector. But just how important are these industries in comparison with its oil ventures? Well, according to a recent article, oil is said to represent over 59% of Guyana's GDP in 2022, and this figure is only expected to increase in the foreseeable future. Although this is the case, another recent report explains that Guyana's non-oil economy is also performing well. The IMF projects that Guyana will grow around 4 to 7% in its non-oil inflation-adjusted GDP for the coming years. This is a slightly higher value compared to the typical real-world GDP growth of about 2%. The reason behind this can be attributed to a recovery of sugar and rice production from floods which previously occurred, as well as positive spillovers from the oil sector. These reasons do take credit away from these industries, meaning we can confidently say that the oil discovery is the biggest reason for Guyana's explosive economic growth. With these points in mind, we all now know that the abundant discovery of oil will unleash astonishing levels of economic growth. which it already has to a significant extent. But exactly how far can Guyana grow? And can it reach similar levels of wealth as oil-rich countries such as the United Arab Emirates? Well, currently the IMF predicts Guyana's GDP will grow to over $28 billion in 2027, which will put the country at a GDP per capita of just over $35,000. This actually puts the country on par with the UAE, among Italy, Japan, and South Korea. This also means Guyana will have over 3 times the GDP per capita of the world's average, meaning the country is on track to becoming relatively wealthy. However, we do have to remember that we are comparing Guyana's 2027 forecasted values with current values of other countries, which may change when we reach that year. Nevertheless, the future of the country seems to be thriving. So far, we've concluded that Guyana is on path to being relatively wealthy. But are there any risks posing in its way? In fact, there are some. The biggest risk entails a drop in global oil prices. You see, oil prices are highly volatile, and unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball to predict what will happen to them. There are many factors affecting its price, such as the slowing down of the global economy, and therefore the possibility of oil prices dropping can be a reality, which would affect Guyana's oil-dependent economy to a great extent. On the other hand, an increase in the price of oil may be incredibly beneficial for the country. Another possible risk for Guyana's economy could be its poor infrastructure. In fact, the country has significant infrastructure gaps, which include a lack of development in ports, poor roads, overcrowded bridges, and a lack of railways. It's also plagued by frequent power outages and high electricity prices. As a matter of fact, Guyana ranks as one of the worst countries in terms of the ease for businesses to get electricity, ranking 170th out of 190 countries in the world. Another point worth noting in regards to potential risks is the prevalence of the Dutch disease. This is an economic phenomenon where the rapid development of one sector of the economy, usually oil, leads to a decline in the growth of other sectors. Because of this, it's important Guyana diversifies its economy so that it does not depend on oil. The former finance minister of Guyana commented on this aspect, saying that the government is rushing with its oil projects, using a great deal of the oil money, which not only harms the environment, but also results in other sectors of the economy losing their competitive edge. If Guyana does not successfully diversify, it may face the same fate as Venezuela, a prime example of the Dutch disease. Nowadays, 99% of their exports are from oil, which contributed to its instability and failed economy. Thus, it's important for Guyana to diversify its economy. To conclude this video, Guyana is on the road to economic prosperity. The abundant discovery of oil off of the country's coast has been causing explosive economic growth, with some estimates predicting that the country will become the biggest oil producer per capita by 2035, which will significantly fuel its growing economy. However, the country must mediate certain aspects deriving from such rapid growth, including diversifying its economy, improving its infrastructure, and being prepared for a potential drop in global oil prices. Thank you for watching our episode on Guyana's prosperous economic situation. If you enjoyed the episode, please consider liking and subscribing as it is much appreciated. Till next time.